All right. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for your time. Let me start off by just saying congratulations for getting to the end of a very, very complicated, very complex, very trying quarter that really required some of the most creative response that I've seen in my career, and a lot of flexibility from all of you and all of your wisdom and experience to help us get through a quarter that none of us could have predicted. So I hope you are proud of the work you've done over the entire academic year, but especially over the last quarter, because I certainly am proud of the work that you all have done. So we're at the point we're going to transition and turn our attention to the summer. And that's the purpose of this meeting today, is to talk about the consolidated summer and to bring you in on a deeper level of detail on what will happen from this point forward through September. And I'm going to, in a minute here, I'm going to turn it over to Melissa to get into that detail. But I do want to take a minute to thank the task group that has been working on this really fast and furiously for the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks or so to get us to this point. And that task group is Melissa Falkenstein, our Director of Capital Projects, Joe Harvey from Campus Village Housing, Art Perez from Mesa Court, and of course, Brian McCormick from Grad Family. And that group was really intentionally put together to represent both Grad Family and undergrad, as well as the capital projects view kind of over of the entire department. So these folks, again, deserve a big thanks from us. I wanted to go back and just revisit what I talked about, whether it was 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, when we initially introduced the fact that we were going to a consolidated summer, and that is, why are we doing this? Because I think we always want to stay focused on the why, because that drives everything else. So the general reason is that we have new circumstances. We have all kinds of new pressures as well as new resources. And so this was a time that it made sense to rethink differently and organize differently for our summer. Specifically, and I talked about this last time we met, the conversation started, but is not because of challenges that Palo Verde was having with a limited amount of staff and resources and needing to be supported in order to do what they need to do to turn over their units and get ready for incoming graduates. Again, it was not, this was not because of Palo Verde's need. It was really just the first time that I kind of started to think about, well, how will we resolve the several different factors? The other factors that we were identifying was that we have no contract cleaners from this point forward. Our agreement with our unions is that we will not contract out for custodial help. And we will be able to rely on dining staff to some extent, but we were going to be stretched to try to identify enough people to do what we needed to do. The other factor was that in our new realities of COVID, we have to do 7-day-a-week sanitation. We're shooting for 3 times a day on every surface. We're at least doing 2 times a day for every surface. That's a tremendous load, and it took us quite a while, even before I started to think about consolidated summer, to identify how that would happen operationally, particularly for weekends. The other factor is that we've got a massive project going on in Campus Village that will take the resources of Campus Village, and that is the conversion of half of their units, half of their buildings, from undergraduate to graduate use. And they're going to be doing a whole lot of work to get ready for that conversion. So that was pulling us in many different directions. And then we had the happy coincidence that Mesa Court, even though we wish we had had students for the spring, they haven't had any students for the spring. So they've been diligent for this very reason. They've been diligent in getting everyone ready, all the rooms ready as much as possible. And they are pretty much ready for fall move-in if we need to. There's probably some tweaking that will need to be done, but they've been doing a whole lot of work so that they are ready to help out the rest of the department. The fact that we have no conferences this summer means that we've got staff that we can allocate to other reasons. And then the other one that I talked about was that we hope no one gets sick over the summer, but if they do, we need to be prepared to backfill positions while folks may be out short or long amount of time. Even if folks don't have COVID, in our new reality, we want to implore people to stay home, take care of yourself, don't spread whatever. If it's a cold, if it's a different type of flu strain, don't spread it here. So we're really going to be vigilant about if you're not feeling well, stay home. But that's going to create absenteeism that we're going to need to backfill. So all of these factors combined are what prompted me to think differently, think about how we can use our collective resources and how we can fill all needs with not just the resources and the staffing you have in your community, but the resources and staffing that we have in all communities. It's a Housing United approach. And I'm really pleased that we are able to meet our needs through this strategy. So let me again say that the team that's been working on this has really put a lot of thought and a lot of care into ensuring that all communities have the support they need at the right time. And doing that with a minimum of disruption to the staff and to the operation in that community. And that this plan is really a result of collaboration with not just the task team, not just Melissa and Art and Joe and Brian, but in consultation with all of the supervisors. This is the collective wisdom of all of the supervisors. So I'm going to pause there. I'm going to again say thank you for all the work that you're going to be doing this summer, for your flexibility in just having a jump in and we can do it attitude and approach, and all the great results that we'll see over the summer from it. So I will toss it at this point to Melissa to talk more about the details of how this plan is going to unfold. Take it away.
Thank you, Tim. Can everyone hear me? This is like the new, I don't know. So again, I want to emphasize the point that Tim made as we were planning. The experience we want to create for you is that you feel that your needs and priorities were considered in our process. We can't guarantee that we will implement your perfect plan, but we did spend a lot of time thinking about how our plan impacts your work. So again, Tim mentioned we started meeting a few weeks ago, and we spent a lot of time meeting with all the supervisors to understand the needs of the entire department. In that process, we came up with a few objectives, and so I want to share what those are. The first one, can't say this enough. This program will evolve based upon the needs of the department and feedback that we hear. Later, you'll hear more about different ways to provide feedback. The second objective is we're going to continue to meet every week with all of the operations supervisors to learn what is working, what's not working, and how we can improve. So we want to evolve based upon that constant communication. The third objective is that we want to be clear that turnover will take priority over any special projects to reduce the stress and strain that is typically felt with turnovers in the summer. And the fourth, last but not least objective, is that we want to keep all housing staff busy for the entire summer. So on this last objective, I want to share that we did have about 50 custodial staff from dining and other areas of student affairs working really hard for us all spring quarter. Because of this hard work and because of everyone else's hard work, we got a lot completed. So as we started to plan for the summer, knowing that half of our communities would be vacant, we couldn't justify keeping that many staff with us again. So as a reminder, our primary goal is to our housing staff and to keep everyone here busy. So on to some of the details. We heard a lot of questions. I'm sure everyone else had a lot of questions. So with the help of Jennifer Nelson Martinez at Palo Verde, we developed a series of frequently asked questions, or FAQs. There's an English version and a Spanish version for everyone, and then a separate one we created for supervisors to help them support you directly. I'm going to be honest again, you may not enjoy the answers, but they are answers so that you know what to expect. We hope this is one of the several ways that you will see us creating the experience that your needs and priorities were considered in our process. We spent a lot of time thinking about how our plan impacts you and your work. I also want to say that this is a milestone entering into a new way of summer operations. Typically, our tradition is to celebrate milestones, especially with food and eating. Unfortunately, we can't do that today for a lot of reasons, and I'm just really sorry about that. So back to the questions. Most of the questions fell into a general category of how does this operation impact me? So I'll start with the work team assignments. So the work team assignments will be for 1 week at a time. And because we're just starting out, later today, you'll get your assignment for the upcoming week, starting June 15th. Afterwards, we hope to give you your assignment for the next 2 weeks. But please, again, understand that the second week may change if the department needs may change. So, for example, if a lot of people suddenly call out sick, or if we have some equipment that breaks down, or some supplies that are backlogged and we can't get them in, or if work goes much faster than we thought it had, these are the kinds of things that could change as we move through the summer, or we find more efficient and better ways to do things. So again, your assignment, you'll be given that later today by your supervisor, and it'll be for just this next week. Also later today, with much thanks to Art Perez, you should also be getting your summer t-shirts later this afternoon. If there's any reason that they just don't get delivered this afternoon, we will definitely make sure that they get to you wherever you are as soon as they get here. So there's been a lot of other questions about, well, where do I go once I get my assignment? How do I get there? So most of you will be working in your current location. You may be working with different people, but most will be working in the same location. So we have two sets of instructions for those who are going to be working in different locations. For those that drive a golf cart to carry tools or to transport supplies for your job, you should go to your current work location to pick up your golf cart and a radio and drive to your work assignment. 15 minutes will be given at the beginning and at the end of each work shift for travel time to make this happen. So this applies to our senior custodians, our all maintenance staff, including painters, although they're staying in the units, and then also ground staff. And by the way, all the ground staff will report on Monday to the grounds maintenance shop in Verano Place. Please ask your supervisor if you need help to find that. For all others that will get an assignment for a different location, but they don't have a golf cart, If possible, we ask that you go directly to your community on Monday, your new community work assignment. We know this is last minute, so if there are any problems through the first week, you can drive to your current location and let your supervisor know. We'll help you get to where you need to go through this transition. So how many have had a question about your work schedule? Anyone? For some of you, for most of you, the answer is no. For others, the beginning and end of your work shift may change by about an hour. We're doing this because we had people starting and ending at too many different times of the day and at the afternoon. And we just can't support each other if we share work, but we're not at work at the same time. And we also need to always consider how our work impacts the residents in their homes, so we can't start early in the morning. So the assignment you received this afternoon will also state your work hours. And of course, we're going to respect and support the 20-day notification period for the change in work hours. However, if you prefer your new schedule and you want to volunteer to start it sooner, you're welcome to do so whenever you choose. Just let your supervisor know. So we've heard some concerns about some discomfort. We know it's going to be uncomfortable if going to a new assignment. And so we're going to be really intentional about making sure you get the right orientation, because we want you to feel like you can succeed. So if you're reporting to a new supervisor, they'll introduce you to the community and coworkers you may not know. This may feel uncomfortable at first, but I've heard a lot of stories when folks reach out to new coworkers and help them feel welcome, and I know this summer won't be any exception. So we've been talking a lot about feedback and communication, and so we've given a lot of thought about ways to give feedback, even for those who are uncomfortable or feel insecure or just aren't comfortable with expressing opinion. We wanted to give a few options. And we thought it's really important because, again, we can't consider your input if we don't receive it. So the handout you get, the FAQs you get later this afternoon, will explain different ways to give feedback, even anonymously. You can submit your input at any language, or translation is available in multiple language. So there's instructions about those different options in the FAQs. We want to create the experience, again, that your needs and priorities are considered in our process. So I'm going to pause there a minute. I see there's a couple of questions coming in the chat. For the employees who have a second job that can't change their schedule, what will happen to those employees? So I'm going to say, let's have conversations with your supervisor. There are not many that need to change their schedule. Almost all of the staff were within 2 different work schedules anyway, and we're just standardizing a 3rd work schedule. So let's have a conversation about individual situations. And the next question is, how are we handling key checkout? Are we putting everyone into KeyTrack? And we're not putting everyone into KeyTrack necessarily, again, because the supervisors that have communities that are turning over this summer will be staying in those communities this summer. We will trust those supervisors to come up with a process that works best. But I don't think that it's necessary to put everyone in KeyTrack at this point. But we'll talk about that at the supervisor levels in our weekly meetings. Okay, so Tim mentioned the importance of, if you are feeling sick, that we want you to take the time to stay at home and be well. So especially during COVID, stay home if you're feeling any symptoms. We have Michelle in Mesa Court will take calls in English and Spanish, and she'll let your supervisor know. She can also help to get you a message to your supervisor if you're going to be late. So, by the way, Michelle, right now, or since she started at UCI, has been working in Mesa Court, but she's also going to be spending a fair amount of time in Palo Verde this summer. So that's what Housing United looks like to me. Michelle's number is going to be in the frequently asked questions. See, there's another question that popped up in the chat. How about grounds who have carts? Same thing as with senior custodians and the maintenance workers. We ask that you go to the community where your cart is, grab your radio, grab your golf cart, and head to the Verano shop. And Greg Haynes will, like other supervisors, be having your daily briefing about work that's going on that day. So last few components of our plan. So we are going to continue to have 5 staff from dining that will continue to work in housing and provide sanitation on weekends. They'll rotate through all communities where there are still residents. There will still be a few undergrads living in Arroyo Vista and Mesa Court this summer. We don't know the exact quantity at this time and when they'll move in, but it may likely require an adjustment of our current plans, and that's again what we're going to continue to talk about on a weekly basis. To support projects that had previously been completed by a contractor in some areas, Jerry Smith and Fernando Velasquez will oversee a team to deep clean floors and to also wash windows on the exterior of all buildings. And as summer turnovers are completed, we're going to work on some special projects as time permits. For maintenance projects, Hector Gonzalez will oversee getting resources to projects and to support completion, working together with other maintenance staff in those departments. So there was one more question about where's Michelle's contact info, and Corey, yes, thank you. It's going to be in the FAQs. So those FAQs, we're in the process of getting them translated as we speak, and they will be emailed to the operations supervisor along with your work assignment for next week. So you'll get both of those with your t-shirt sometime this afternoon. So again, the rest of the plan will continue to take shape over the coming days and weeks. We're committed to keeping you updated with information throughout the summer. We're trying to control what we can, knowing that there's going to be things that we don't expect that will come up. So we thank you for your patience through the process. We recognize that this has a personal impact on you. And I want to say again that we want you to know that your experience is considered in our process. Are the window washings going to be UCI employees or contractors? So again, the team that Fernando will be overseeing, he's going to partner Mesa Court custodians who have completed all the exterior window washing in Mesa Court. They were even able to wash the interiors of the windows in the Mesa Court towers. So they're going to be working with the communities to rotate through and get the exterior windows washed instead of using contractors. Where we will use contractors, it'll be, if possible, at the towers, not if possible, it will be at the towers where special equipment, the configuration is a little different than Mesa Court, and so it may not be possible to take care of everything from the ground. So that's where contractors will be used. It requires special equipment and special training. Any other questions? So there is a question about where employees are supposed to park if they're going to different communities. So I would say in the first day when you show up, if it's not, if there isn't a clear parking space, have a conversation with the supervisor in that community. At this point, Parking and Transportation has not said that they're going to resume charging for parking. So we hope, and because the campus will still be mostly doing remote learning over the summer, that there should be ample parking for everyone. I hope that helps. Can we get a thermometer to check our temperatures? We just had a conversation with our folks in purchasing. We were purchasing some for our graduate residents that are moving in, as well as the ones that are currently here. And yes, we have plans to issue when that order arrives to staff as well. I can't tell you when that's going to be. It might be a few weeks because that's just how the market is going right now. Everything is on back order, is taking a little bit longer or a lot longer to get shipped than normal. But we also, this is a good point, UCI has recently issued a wellness check to help you check your symptoms. And so we hope that everyone has already had a chance to complete that. Otherwise, we want to make sure that you have an opportunity to complete that over the next week. And this is necessary even if you've been on campus this whole spring quarter, you still needed to go through that check or that training. Who do we notify about pre-approved time off? You can let your current supervisor know, and we're going to include that kind of information when we meet weekly to plan out the next few weeks of staffing and schedule of work. So, unless there are any other questions, I think we're going to sign off for now. Is someone trying to ask anything? So we're going to sign off for now, but oh, that's a question, okay.
Yo trabajé overtime en un domingo en Arroyo Vista y Joe Harvey nos dijo que no había estado ahí. Entonces, uno me pone mis horas de comp time y yo pienso que si van a trabajar en otros lados, pues va a surgir el mismo problema. Necesitamos que tengan un control sobre eso.
Art, you want to translate that question for everyone else? Oh. Yes.
We can't hear you on Spanish or normal.
Yes, I can hear you.
I can hear you.
For the question that was asked, I think it might be an individual HR related question. I think we can address that question with an individual HR question. So I'll work with her and we'll work to get that question answered.
Great, thank you, Laura. Okay.
Correct, and that's why we're looking at all the communities to develop a standardized check-in, check-out process, so that we can maintain all these schedules with all the staff.
So I had got another question that said, when will staff get their weekly assignment normally on Fridays? Yes, right now that's the plan. If we can get it earlier in the week as things get a little more stable, we will do so. But right now the plan is on Fridays, yeah?
Let me answer the question really quick, and then I'll give thumbs up when I'm done, okay?
Thank you. Okay. Were you able to translate the question about when staff will get their assignment normally, the weekly assignment? Right now it's going to be on Fridays. Every Friday they'll get their assignment for the following 1 to 2 weeks.
Melissa, Patrick asked a question about whether students will be returning earlier this year in August or September, as we're hearing from other universities.
Yes? I was hoping you would answer that one.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I just didn't want to steal your thunder there. No, they will not be. There is probably going to be some encouragement that students, since vast majority of students will be taking remote classes in the fall, the messaging from campus will probably be, go home for Thanksgiving, don't come back until the start of winter quarter. So it will accomplish, if students choose to do that, it'll accomplish kind of the same end, but we won't be actually starting earlier.
And currently the academic year, the academic calendar actually has classes starting for fall quarter the first week in October.
October 1, to be exact.
There was another question about what if staff are not here on Friday to get their weekly assignments. And again, this is just about communication. Let's have a conversation with your supervisor and we'll help you get the information you need when you're able to return to work.
Did you see Robin's question about a thermometer, Melissa?
Yeah, I answered it.
Okay. I took a nap during that part.
Okay. So I hope you've heard the theme is flexibility and communication come up a few times. So we are going to be evolving this program as we learn more about our operations. So we appreciate everyone's flexibility, and let's communicate questions, individual situations as they come up. We'll try to learn from those when we meet weekly with the supervisors, and we will communicate how we're going to adjust throughout the summer on a regular basis. Tim, anything else you'd like to add?
No, just again, thank you for all the great work that you're doing, and glad that we have a cooler Friday than we've had in the last couple of weeks. And have a great weekend,
Bye, everyone.
everybody.